Welcome to the drivers' press conference ahead of the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix. Joining us this morning, we have Daniel Kvyat, Lewis Hamilton, Lance Stroll, Kimi Räikkönen and Lando Norris. Well, Lance, if we can start with you, please. It's both yours and the team's home race. Just describe how that feels.
Well, it's obviously a very special weekend. It's good to be back home. Don't get to come back often, so yeah, the week leading up to the race has been great. Catching up with friends, family. Yeah, I enjoyed my time playing hockey with the Montreal Canadiens yesterday. That was fun, and now back to business. And
I think you've got your own grandstand this weekend. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, in the hairpin, like last year. So yeah, it'll be very special. My installation lap tomorrow. All the Canadian flags and the grandstands. It's one of the best weekends on the calendar, and definitely the highlight of my season.
Well, let's hope Sunday's race lasts longer for you than it did last year. Tell us about the car's potential here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. What do you think you can achieve?
Yeah, I mean, historically, it's been a track that's suited our car. I mean, of course, it's a new year, and the competition in the midfield is very tight. But I think there's opportunity for us this weekend. It's been challenging couple events in Spain and in Monaco, not managing to score points. But we're looking to turn that around this weekend.
Well, you have scored points in Australia and Baku. Qualifying seems to have been quite tough for you so far. How does the car feel on light fuel? Is it very tricky?
Yeah, I mean, at times I think we've unfortunately just missed out, and I mean, there's reasons behind why the performance has been poor, but it's definitely a focus point, and we'll be working on it, moving forward.
Thank you, Lance. Good luck this weekend. Daniel, if we could come on to you, please. Your best ever result with Toro Rosso in Monaco, where you finished 7th. Fair to say one of your best races?
Yeah, I mean, you know how it's in Monaco. You start, and pretty much from there, the positions are consolidated. But yeah, it was good to get this kind of off the way. You know, it was a very good day for myself, for the team, and to be honest, the whole weekend felt quite good in the car, and good qualifying, and yeah, lately it's been becoming better and better, so I'm pretty happy with how the things are going and where they're moving. So we just hopefully we'll carry on the momentum and bring it into here as well.
You say it's getting better and better. Would you say your own performance is getting better and better? Are we seeing the best Kvyat we've ever seen in Formula One at the minute?
Perhaps, yes. I mean, I wanted to come back to F1 as an improved version of myself, and I think I'm managing to do that so far, and hopefully that will be getting again better and better. So. And
you're equaling a bit of a record this weekend with your former teammate Jean-Eric Vergne. You are starting your 58th race for Toro Rosso, which is a record, and you're only 25. How does that feel, and how has the team evolved in that time as well?
It made me feel very old now, so yeah, I mean, I'm happy with where the team is going, to be honest. I saw a lot of things in Toro Rosso. Now I think I'm happy with the team around me, and I'm quite happy there. And the guys are doing a very good job this year. I think improving many things that in the past maybe was holding this team back. And I'm happy to contribute to help the team to improve these things.
Good stuff. Well, good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Lando, if we could come on to you. Your first time here in Montreal, what are you expecting from this racetrack? Walls are pretty close.
I think it's pretty difficult to say. I've obviously done my share of sim work and preparation, and seen some onboards and whatever. So just what the usual is, but it's a new weekend. Monaco didn't go quite so well for me, but it's an exciting one from what I've seen in the past. It looks a fun track. It's a fun track to drive, although it's pretty tricky. So yeah, I'm just looking to have fun. Hopefully some racing on Sunday, and yeah, I guess our aim for the whole weekend is from before we can go into the more details, let's say, is to get into Q3 and have a points finish. But the midfield is very tight, like Lance said, so it's going to be tough. We just need to make sure we're the front of that, and just give it our best.
And the intra-team battle between you and Carlos is proving pretty tight this year, just 6 points between you. How's the working relationship between the two of you?
It's going pretty well, actually. I mean, I've had teammates, and you have teammates in other categories, but it's always different when you get to Formula One. A lot of people, I don't know, people try and make it a lot more of a fierce battle between teammates, and a lot of media and everything always look into that kind of thing. But we're having good fun. We get along very well. We're friends away from the track, and we've had a lot of fun so far this season. There's been no conflict. There's not been any points so far where we've had different decisions or different opinions on different things. We've gelled pretty well, and I think that's, for the team anyway, has been very positive. We have similar comments, still have different feelings and prefer different things on the car, but we work together, which also helps the team improve, go in a similar direction, and that's very, it is a positive thing. Looking ahead to the future, trying to improve the car and become a better team. So, yeah, it's been good fun. I'm sure it's going to improve and help things going forward.
You say you're looking to improve the car. Tell us a little bit about the car, because it would appear that the performance fluctuates a little bit from track to track. Is that a fair assessment?
I think if you look back, I don't know, the one standout one was obviously China, and that was just not a good weekend altogether for us as a team. But we bounced back pretty well, and apart from that, we've been fairly strong. Top 10 contenders, let's say. In every other race weekend, but I think just because the midfield's so close, and it's 4 teams, 5 teams, different teams are better in different areas and different tracks, and it's hard to maybe make those differences sometimes more than others. So I know coming into this weekend, it's just going to be another one of those times where we could be very strong, we could be not so strong. But we never really know, although we have our assumptions on what the car, or where the car is good and where it's bad, and other teams as well. It's always a different track and different when you actually go out and drive. So it's getting there. It's improving slowly, but it's not where we want it to be yet.
Okay, thanks, Lando. Good luck this weekend and enjoy yourself. Kimi, coming on to you. We've heard about the performance of the McLaren. Tell us a little bit about the Alfa Romeo. The season started very well for you guys, but it appears to have dropped off in the last couple of races. Why do you think that is?
Obviously, we were not that fast. I mean, I think, definitely not what we wanted, but in Monaco, if you qualify badly, that's pretty much where you're going to race, and that's a bit, after Saturday, after first few laps and after the pit stop, you are where you're going to be. But in in Barcelona, I think we understood some things that we was wrong. So those are a bit 2 separate things. But I think the circuits overall wasn't very good for us. So hopefully we are back here a bit, let's say, a bit more normal position. But we're only going to find out over the weekend. So we'll see. But nothing major wrong. It's just that we lack speed. So.
Now, it's Lando's first time here this weekend. Didn't go so badly for you back in 2001, your first time here. You finished 4th for Sauber. Can you just tell us a little bit about the track, highlights from a driver's point of view?
I mean, it's quite tricky track in the end, because obviously it's kind of not really street circuit, but very narrow places on the exits of the chicanes. So if you get it wrong, you have to push over the curbs, and if the car is not great over the curbs, it's easy to touch the wall. So, plus, a lot of brakings that has to be right. But I mean, it's not awful many corners, but it's not the easiest place to go fast.
Okay, well, Kimi, good luck this weekend. Thanks for your time. Lewis, thank you for waiting. Coming on to you now. Well, fourth for Kimi on his first visit here in 2001. And, of course, you won your first ever Grand Prix here back in 2007. Can you just tell us what it's like to come back to Montreal, a track where you've had so much success, and what you're looking forward to this weekend?
I was just wondering, how old are you? 19. Shoot. No, I love coming out to Montreal, and the weather's often great here. The circuit is fantastic, and it's a track that I think everyone really enjoys. It's definitely in the top 3 of the favourite circuits of the year, and I think the city makes that mostly a big part of that, because the city is very vibrant, the people are super welcoming, great food. And even just today, you see the whole bridge is covered with fans, so you already know that you have a massive turnout for this race. And from a driver's perspective, the track is awesome. It's a bit go-kart-esque, with great long straights, so you can overtake, and you're throwing the car over these big, huge curves around the track, and there's not massive runoff areas, so it's a bit of a high-speed street circuit, which is great.
Why do you think you excel here?
Well, I don't think I've really excelled for a while here, if I'm really honest. When I was at McLaren, it worked quite well. I think our car was quite nimble back then, and worked really well here. I don't think I've been massively successful here as far as I remember, but of the recent years. But it's been a bit harder with the hybrid era, especially since we've had a longer car since 2017. So it's a little bit harder to get turned around some of these corners. But our car is a lot better this year in the slower speed, medium speed corners. So I anticipate this weekend we will be stronger than we have been in the past. But being that you do have these long straights, you know that the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, I think, particularly will be really strong this weekend. So I'm excited for that fight.
Well, you say you're going to be better than you have in previous years. Can you just elaborate on how you see the balance of power coming into this weekend? Are you more nervous about this weekend than the previous 6 this year?
No, I wouldn't say I was more nervous about this weekend. I think you do notice in Monaco everyone gets a lot closer, or the top teams particularly get a lot closer, but generally everyone's more packed together. A lot of these other teams have got really great packages, and they're actually quite getting closer and closer throughout the year, which is great to see. And as I said, through here is not a huge amount of corners. So it's a lot of straight line speed. So a lot of us, Honda have really picked up their pace with their engine this year. So the Red Bulls should be really strong, and they're great through corners. The Ferrari is generally the quickest car in the straight line all year long. So in the past races, we've managed to catch them up through the corners. But whether or not that be the case this weekend, time will tell. So, but I hope that there's a real close battle between us all.
Okay, thanks, Lewis. Good luck this weekend. Let's open this to the floor now, and as ever, please remember to give your name and publication. First question, please.
Scott Mitchell from Autosport. Lewis, when we were in Monaco, you said you expected to have an upgraded engine here. The teams confirmed that. Because you've had 6 races, the team's won every race, despite not having that engine upgrade your rivals have. How much of a step do you expect to take this weekend? And with the improvements to the car, making it better, lower medium speed this year, do you feel that the team's sort of in its strongest all-round position that it's been since you've been with Mercedes?
Well, on the engine side, the guys back at Brixworth have been working incredibly hard. It's not been the easiest beginning of the year in terms of preparing an engine. Whilst it's an evolution of previous years, each time you're always trying to push the envelope, and there's so many people working so hard to improve it. And as I said, it's not been the smoothest ride, but we've had great reliability with the first engine. It's always great when you have a new engine, being that it's fresh. This is a power circuit, so it's come at the perfect time. If you look at the previous years, this is the race we always bring our second engine, and it's phase 2, so it'll have all new mods, slight improvements everywhere. It's not a massive. It's not like at the beginning of the hybrid era where you took massive strides forwards, or even last year. It's just small steps. So the biggest difference is that it's brand new, it's fresh, the old engine that's done six races will have degradation, etc. So, but the guys have worked so hard. It's now small percentages, but they're very much appreciated.
Thank you. Next one, please.
A question for Luis, Andre Cronista, Gazzetta dello Sport. Luis, you come from two difficult life period, not about yourself, but we have the funeral of Nicky. Then there was the death of the poor kid, Henry. I know that you tried the inspiration in Spain on this poor guy, and I would like to know if all these two things can give you stimulate more for this Grand Prix to honor the memory of Nicky and the memory of the young guy. Thank you.
Well, I don't know if it stimulates more. I think it's just as you go through life, you when you see these things happen or you experience certain things, you naturally grow through it. I think, naturally we continue to race with Nicky in our hearts, and that's not going to stop. So we always want to continue to make him proud. Of course, devastating. I can't understand how life is so precious and how such a young people can lose their lives so early on. It's just beyond me. So, but I've got the greatest little memories with little Harry, and God has another angel. So, but coming into this weekend, we've all got to stay positive. I've got a lot of people relying on me to continue to do the job. So it's just strange how the world just continues to move on. You know, the world just continues. So what's really important for each and every single one of us is we all have our own lives, and we don't know how long or short they're going to be. But you just got to maximize with every opportunity. So every day that I have, I'm trying to grow, trying to be as the best I can be, do what I love, regardless of people's opinions, and just live the life to the fullest.
Thank you, Lewis. Next question, please.
Hi. Walter Buchignani, Montreal Gazette. I have a very local question for those of you who've been here before. Can we have your impressions on the new installations, please?
Daniel, let's start your end of the line.
It's been renewed, the paddock this year. So I think it looks wider, but looks good. Looks good, I guess. So I don't know. For me, it's more important is the track than the room is there where I can sit down, and that's it. That's all that matters. The track is fine. I think some other things stayed old, so it's good. It's always good. Always welcome the renovations.
Lewis, the new facilities here?
It looks beautiful. I've not really seen much of it. Obviously, we're in it now, but it's only taken the 13 years I've been here for him to put it together. Being it's one of the most attended races, I'm surprised they didn't do it sooner, but it's great that they have. It means they've made a real investment. It means this track's going to be here for a long time, as it should be. They're still working on the road works outside. That bridge, I swear they've been working on that since I started in Formula 1. So it's never. I don't know if it's ever going to get done, but maybe they should hire the same people that did this building, because they've done a good job. So.
And Lance?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's great for the city, great for the Grand Prix, and I hope it sticks around, because we all think it's a great place to come race. It's awesome to drive around here, and there's great racing as well. Really pleased for Montreal, and let's enjoy it.
And Kimi?
I haven't been in the box here, so in the garage, so it's hard to say. But what I heard, it's better for the guys to work, so I think they will appreciate it a lot. But I think you get the very honest answer from them if you ask after the weekend how was it. But I'm sure it's better for them to work and for everybody to hear. So that's a good thing.
Okay, thank you. Next one, please.
In 2019 or 2001.
I'm Luis Vasconcelos from La Press. Question for Kimi and Danny. Kimi, 1/3 of the season almost done. How is it to be back in the midfield after 16 seasons fighting at the front? And Daniel, you're back to where you started in terms of teams. You just mentioned how much the team has changed and improved. How different are you from when you were driving for them first time around, now that you have the experience?
Should I? Yeah, I think like I said also before, I think the team is moving in a good direction. I think in the winter there was sort of a plan to improve certain areas, which like in the past weren't fantastic, and important is to see that it's getting better. So and also our car, I think, is quite consistent, showing consistent performance on most kind of the tracks. Me likewise, I wanted to work on certain things for my comeback in Formula One, and been a lot of good work put on behind the scenes, and it's paying off, which I'm very pleased to see. And yeah, hopefully we'll carry on like that. So we should never stop as a team, and I'm happy with the team around me as well. And we should never stop developing, and just aim to move in the same direction for me and for the team.
Thank you. And Kimi?
I think the work itself is no difference. It's you basically do the same stuff. It doesn't matter which team you are in. But yeah, racing, I think there's been some good battles. Obviously, if it's like Monaco, even in the front, if you stuck behind somebody, that's it's not greatest place for racing. But yeah, there's been good battles here and there. So I wouldn't say that a lot of things has changed. I think you get more close battles in quite a few races because of the midfield teams are more close together, and at least it's been some overtaking this year. So yeah, but generally working side hasn't changed. It's a bit less busy, so that's a good thing. So.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Hi, Philippe Lagu from 98.5 FM radio station. I have a question for Lewis. We've talked about Niki Lauda, and it was quite a loss. But here, I would like, for our local audience, I would like to have your personal input, because I heard you, or I read somewhere that he made you a better driver. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, Nicky, he never talked to me about driving. As racing drivers, we don't really do that necessarily. I mean, he hired me to do a job, so he didn't hire me to then tell me how to do the job. But no, he was just, for me, it was a part of my journey, a massive part of my journey. Obviously, I wouldn't have joined his team if it wasn't for Nicky. And then along the way, just understanding him as how he was a racer, and his approach and how he pushed the people around him to help extract more from the team. I definitely learned that sort of thing from him. I could see that from him all the time. So I've definitely incorporated that in how I maneuver throughout my year. In terms of driving, I mean, that's all been just trial and error through myself, really. So, but as I said, I wouldn't have had the platform to develop as a driver, or I wouldn't have the platform I currently have without Nicky.
Thank you. Next one.
Stu Cowan, Montreal Gazette. It's a question for Lance. What do you like most about this track, and what's the most challenging and/or fun part of it for a driver?
I think just the technicality of it in general. It's got a lot of character. Lewis mentioned it earlier. You're really, you're riding the curbs. There's not a lot of room for error. long straights, which allow for good overtaking. So there's a bit of everything, and as a racing driver, that makes the weekend in general very exciting. It's a lot of fun to drive over one lap. You have to be very committed and use all of the racetrack. And on Sunday, it's a proper race, and that's great for the fans as well.
Thank you. Next one.
Oliver Brown from The Telegraph. It's just a question for Lewis. Just the programme that you did with David Lesserman. There was an interesting section where I think your dad was referring to the management breakup back in 2010, and he said that it broke his heart. I just wondered if you could reflect on how difficult that period was and how much more it makes you appreciate the relationship you have with him now.
It's nothing that's not really been ever spoken about before. So, I mean, the relationship's fantastic now, and unfortunately, it wasn't always great. But that happens within families. The great thing is that we've had this year I had the first Christmas with my whole family this year, with my mum and my stepmom and my dad and sisters together and my brother together. So it was the first united Christmas that I've had over the years. So there's been massive growth within the family and between me and my dad. Like, we just were out partying for his birthday the other day till the early hours of the morning in London, which was awesome. And sometimes it just takes people time apart to build and grow within themselves, so then they can come back into relationships. But for sure, the time, as you get older, you realize how precious time is. I've got friends who don't have their dads any longer, and some that didn't speak to their dads for 20, 25, 30 years, and I never ever want that to happen. My dad's definitely someone, I think he's the greatest man I know, and someone I aspire to be a lot like, and for sure want him to be around for a long time. So that's why I'm pushing him in the gym. Stay fit. Health is everything.
Thank you, Lewis. Next question.
Dieter Renken, Racing Lines and RaceFans.net. Lewis, you said this was one of the top 3 tracks in your opinion. Which are the other 2?
Silverstone and Austin. They're my... literally because, look, we got Monaco, which is spectacular. I live there, I love it. But you all know how the race is from the day before. It's not a race that I personally don't enjoy driving the race, because you can make your car as wide as you want. You can't actually entertain. You're not so much putting passes in, for example. Austin, you can overtake. It's a brand new circuit, but it's got a lot of great character. You can actually follow. Same with here. It's a racetrack that you can get quite close. It is a bit, a street circuit on this incredible little island in this big city, and it's just very unique in its own way. It's very high speed braking, big stops, and as I said, big curves. And then the Silverstone Grand Prix. That track is naturally very got a lot of history. The layout is just incredible. It's all high speed and medium speed, and it's really kind of the ultimate test of probably all the tracks. Probably the ultimate test of the downforce of a car. And you've got some of the coolest sections: Copse, Maggots, Beckett's, Stowe. Those sectors, that whole combination. I don't think there's many tracks in the world that have a better combination of corners, in my personal opinion. But also there, you can, being that it's wide enough, you can actually follow, and there is some really good racing there. So that's why it's my personal favourites.
Thank you. Next one.
Phil Duncan, PA. Just on that Lesserman interview, again, Lewis, you spoke about in there dealing with, I think it was mental issues and instabilities. Is that something that you still sort of not struggle with, but contend with during your career now? And is it easier to manage that aspect of your career now than it was perhaps in the early days?
Yeah, it's definitely better when you're, I think probably the older you get, the more you understand. about the world and about yourself and about your health. I think, a big step for me was when I decided to go to a plant-based diet. That really changed a huge amount for me, and the positive impact that's had on my mentally and physically is, I just wish I did it a lot earlier. And it just, unfortunately, just the education is pretty poor for kids that are at school, and obviously parents probably aren't educating their kids because they also don't know of the positive effects it can have. Every day is not every day is easy. You still come across humps, but I feel every year I'm gaining new tools to be able to handle and deal with them, and learning new things all the time. So definitely the best place I've ever been. But I think you've really seen that shift over the past years, and I don't think that's ever going to stop. I think I'll continue to learn and grow and improve.
Thank you. Next one.
Hi, I'm Bob Fortner with The Correspondent. I have a question for Lewis and Lance. The rules are being considered for revision, and right now we've got a pretty substantial gap between the top three and the midfield. I'm wondering what you think as drivers should happen to the rules.
Regulations or rules? Which one? Regulations. You want me to go first?
Lewis, why don't you go first?
In my personal opinion, if you look over the last 12 years, and beyond that, they always shift and change the regulations for the car, trying to improve costs, trying to improve overtaking. And I think in general, the decisions have not been great in all of those years. And you've got Liberty that's taken over now, and you still have the same issue of people are not so excited. You still have that separation between all the top wealthier teams and the lower teams. I think there's more to it than just changing the regulations of the car. That continues to be a fundamental issue. But there's also the entertainment aspect. If you look, every weekend is the same 4 days for 21 weekends in a year, and that format's never changed. So I think that's also the entertainment aspect of it has to probably shift to suit different tracks. You've got Monaco, which you can't overtake. Maybe you have 2 races there. I don't know what it is, but I don't have the answers for it. But I think you need to have a look in. That also needs to have, that element needs to have a real look into, because the fans are the reason that we're able to continue to do what we do. And I see, whilst there's a lot of people here, there are races that there's not big attendance. The promotion is perhaps not always the best in some places. People do continue to comment that it's boring, because you still have a period of time where Ferrari win for a period of time, McLaren win for a period of time, Mercedes, Red Bull. How you stop that? I mean, that is definitely a part of the regulations, but I think on a more global scale, I think there needs to be some more changes even outside of the regulations, in my opinion. And I think Ross and that hopefully are thinking about that for 2021. But ultimately, if I had a choice, I would go back to V12, naturally aspirated engines. I would have manual gearboxes. I'd make it harder for the drivers, take away all these big runoff areas that you have everywhere. Should not have steering assist, or even if you do have steering assist, you've got to have it low. I like having it low, so it's harder for me. It should be the most physical. You should be just so physically exhausted after the race, to the point it should be just so exhausting, like a marathon. And sometimes you do these races and you can get up, and I could do a race. I could probably do 2 or 3 races in a row. And Formula 1 should not be like that. And also it's a man's sport, and a lot of youngsters come in, and it's quite easy for them to get straight into it. But I do think it should be the most physically challenging, and probably why it's not a lot of us drivers are able to go for a long period of time is because we can handle it. So, yeah, there's a bunch of different things I have.
Lance, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think closer racing to start off with is the main thing. I mean, there's a bunch of other factors which could use change, but I think closer racing, budget caps, to make the field more equal would be much more exciting. You look at the NHL, the NFL, the NBA. The teams are so close, and on any given Sunday in the NFL, any team can win, and that's because it's capped properly, it's managed properly, and that allows for exciting competitions. And it would be great to see the same thing in Formula One, where instead of a second and a half, 2 seconds between the field, it comes down to tenths. I think that would really spice things up. And then, of course, closer racing, regulation changes to allow us to race wheel to wheel, which I know is definitely a focus point. So really, all these things.
We need better tires. We need better tires.
Okay, next one.
That's not put it down well.
Jack Lopez from Motorlat, Argentina. My question is for Lance. Lance, this year has been some trouble for you at qualifying. It's for a particular reason with the car or setup, or what is the problem exactly?
Well, I mean, there's always reasons. I think we've been unfortunate a couple times. Traffic here and there. There's always things, but. Yeah, I mean, the last couple of races, the car hasn't been very competitive, which is the main reason, really. And, in order to qualify well, you need a quick car under you. And the midfield being so tight, we see from track to track, teams have their strengths and weaknesses on different kinds of tracks. And the last couple of events hasn't suited our car. And then, I mean, there's definitely things on my side that I need to work on, get to grips with the car. It's it's a new car, a new environment for me, and I need to work on my weaknesses and build on my strengths. On a positive side, the race pace has been very good. We've managed to score points in a couple of events, but we definitely want to be consistently more often in the points and fighting up at the front. That's the goal.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Maxime Sarrazin from 98.5 FM. Question for Lewis. We were talking about changes possibly to the all the rules, and do you think personally that that drivers should have louder words through all those changes for future time being? And what is the legacy you really want to leave as a pilot, personally?
Well, all the drivers are united for the first time. We're all part of the GPDA, so we are all united. We all work together. We all communicate. Unfortunately, the technical regulations is done by the people with power, with money, and we generally have a little say, if any, as to what changes will take place. I mean, ultimately, we know what it's like to race. We know what the challenges are, and so we're very open to being a part and being a part of it and contributing any of our ideas, and because we all do have naturally ideas, and we all know where the limits are. One of the guys that works with us, Alex Vorts, for example, an ex-driver, he also knows and understands, because it's pretty similar to when he was racing in terms of issues. So we do want to be a part of the conversation, because ultimately we can help for the future. Also, a lot of the things that we push for are for the younger generation of drivers. Things that we change for rules for the driver's side of things is so that the younger drivers that are coming through will benefit from those things. In terms of my legacy, it's difficult to say, really. I think there's so many elements that are to be worked on. I mean, ultimately, I want to somehow find some more help pave the way for some younger drivers to come through from a similar background to myself, for example. that means getting involved in go-karting from the early phases of motor racing. I mean, it's so expensive now to race go-karts. I think when I started, I think me and my dad told me he spent £20,000 in his first year, which was a huge amount of money from where we come from, on a council estate in the UK. And then, but for today, to do a professional season of karting, it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, like $200,000 or $300,000 or something. That's to be a professional. Now, that's a lot of money to spend in the year. So, I want to be a part of somehow shifting that. Also helping shift a little bit the diversity, because there really is the most minimal diversity within this sport. And I really want to somehow be a part of shifting that with Formula One, working in cooperation with Formula One and the FIA. I don't know why there's not enough university students, engineers, mechanics, and even within the media coming through from more diverse backgrounds. It's just, I don't know why that's always been the way it is today, but I see a real opportunity there to be a part of shape-shifting that. So that's ultimately in 20 years' time, I want to look back and, well, if I ever hear someone whispering, they would say that I was a part of shifting that.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck this weekend, and a full transcript of this press conference will be available shortly at FIA.com.
Sky Sports F1. Feel it all.